Two different people can sit through the exact same conversation, the same words, the same tone, the same exact moment, and walk away with completely different interpretations and stories about what just happened. One of them might have heard love. The other might have heard criticism. One might have felt supported from what transpired, and the other one might have felt attacked by the very same conversation. This happens not because one person is remembering accurately and the other isn't, or because one person is being overly sensitive and the other one's not, or because one person is being emotionally clueless and the other's not. It happens because of something deep inside your brain called the Reticular Activating System. And once you begin to understand how it works, there's something very transformative, fascinating that becomes really clear. Your brain is not showing you reality. I'm Dr. Denham Slade, and I help you cut through all of the garbage online with scientific information and facts that you can trust. Your brain is constantly showing you a filtered version of reality. And that filter is strongly shaped by your core temperament. Today, I want to dive into this a little bit. Let's talk about why different people experience the very same relationship so differently from one another, and why understanding your filter has the ability to change the way that you see every single conflict that you've ever lived or ever will live. Every single second of your life, your brain is receiving millions of pieces of information. We are constantly bombarded by sounds, by facial expressions, tone shifts, memories, movement, thoughts. If your brain tried to consciously process everything that comes at it, you would be completely overwhelmed in a matter of seconds. So, as a coping mechanism, as a survival skill, your brain uses a filter. It's called the Reticular Activating System, or the RAS. It's a small network of neurons in your brainstem that acts like a gatekeeper. It is the bridge between your subconscious mind and your conscious mind. Your RAS decides which information is important enough to reach your conscious awareness and which information is going to get ignored. A huge percentage of information is always getting ignored. Your RAS does not filter based on truth. It filters based on relevance. What's relevant to you and your brain? Relevance is determined by things like your past beliefs, your current beliefs, your past experiences, your emotional history, and your natural temperament. Remember, temperament, you might not remember, you might not know this. Temperament is the unchangeable filter that you were born with. Every single one of us comes into life with a temperament that does not change throughout our entire lives. And the core temperament model of personality, I did the research and developed it to help you understand how this unalterable, unchangeable part of you determines and gets activated in this filtration process to determine how healthy you are and how healthy your relationships are. And when your life and relationships are healthy, they are also happy. This means that two people standing in the very same room can literally experience two very different versions of the same reality. Temperament plays a massive role in what your brain chooses to notice and what it chooses to filter out. In the core temperament framework, temperament reflects the underlying motivations that drive why we do the things that we do and how we interpret the world around us. Those motivations quietly, mostly quietly because we're unaware of them, train your brain to filter for certain kinds of information. I want to show you how this looks for each of the four temperament types. We'll start with the C. C stands for comfort and connection. And C's are primarily motivated by connection. They're wired to prioritize relationships and emotional bonds with people. C's nervous systems are constantly asking a simple but powerful connection. Are we connected right now? What the C wants to feel is that they're settled emotionally. And when the C becomes unsettled emotionally, their brains automatically become disorganized until they feel settled again. And because of that motive, their reticular activating systems is highly tuned to relational signals, tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, shifts in energy during a conversation. Their brain automatically notices these things almost automatically. And of course, I hope you can see, this can be an incredible strength. People that are motivated by getting settled emotionally and by comfort and connection often become the emotional glue in relationships and in communities because they sense when somebody feels left out. They notice when tension enters a room. They are able to detect emotional shifts long before anyone else notices or before anyone even says a word a lot of the time. And of course, every filter has a trade-off. Because C's brains are prioritizing relational cues, they can sometimes become overly sensitive to potential disconnection or signs of threat, signs of becoming or potentially becoming unsettled emotionally. So if a partner is quiet, the C brain might register that as distance. A distracted response can feel like rejection. A short tone can sound like criticism. And that's not because that's actually what the other person meant, but rather because the C brain is scanning super carefully to protect the relationship and their emotional settlement. The C filter is always trying to answer one main question: are we still okay? Now let's look at the O. O stands for optimism. These are the idealists. People motivated by optimism are wired to look for possibility, enthusiasm, positive experiences, for fun, for pleasant emotion. Their brain is naturally scanning the environment for things like what's exciting, where's the next opportunity for fun, who's engaged in this conversation or in this activity, what could be fun or meaningful about this moment right now. The O's reticular activating system prioritizes fun, positive, upbeat energy, potential, emotional momentum. And because of that, idealists, as I call them, often bring an incredible sense of life into every conversation and every environment that they're in. They see possibilities that other people are completely unaware of. They naturally uplift the emotional tone of a room unlike any other temperament type. And again, every filter has a trade-off. So when your brain is tuned for fun and possibility and excitement, it can also end up filtering out things that feel restrictive or heavy or boring. Detailed instructions, procedural steps, complex analysis. Those things are really difficult for the E brain to want to prioritize, and they can end up fading into the background because they don't match the motivational lens of the brain. They don't match the motivational lens that the O brain is naturally prioritizing. This is why an O might walk away from a conversation remembering the big vision or the emotional energy of the conversation while forgetting some of the really important specific details that were discussed. And what you need to understand about the interplay between temperament and the reticular activating system is that the O brain doesn't just ignore that information because they don't think it's important. What happens is because of how their temperament works and what their brains are naturally on the lookout for, their reticular activating system just doesn't think that information is that relevant. And so it filters all those details and what feels like minutia to the O brain out and doesn't serve that data up to the conscious brain, to the conscious mind of the O. Okay, let's move on to the R. R stands for resolution. R's are driven to get things done. The R brain is unalterably wired to bring things to completion, to check things off. How the R brain works is when something undone gets on their radar screen, it gets all of their attention and something undone bugs the R brain. It doesn't matter what the undone thing is. It could be a load of laundry, or it could be a surgery that needs done if you're a surgeon, or although there aren't very many R surgeons, or it could be loading the dishwasher, or lost keys, or a lost TV remote, things like that. Whatever is on the radar screen of the R takes up the whole screen. And you can see how this works with the reticular activating system, right? Because whatever the R brain is focused on, that is what is relevant, and therefore it's what the reticular activating system is going to be focused on, and it filters out everything else. Everything else fades into the background, and the R is only noticing or focused on the thing that it's trying to resolve in that moment, because the unresolved thing is bugging the R brain, and checking it off alleviates that frustration that they're experiencing. So in the middle of a conversation, the R brain quickly identifies what needs to be fixed or clarified, what needs to be addressed, which is why the R brain moves so quickly and naturally into problem-solving mode. When someone shares a struggle, the R begins thinking immediately about solutions. When someone describes a conflict, when someone brings up a conflict or they're in the middle of a fight, the R brain wants to solve it or resolve it immediately. From their perspective, this is the most efficient thing to do. The other person, on the other hand, might have been looking for something completely different. Maybe they needed to feel some empathy, or maybe they needed some time to process emotions before diving into solving the problem or the issue. Same conversation again. One brain is thinking, let's fix this, while the other person's brain is thinking, why aren't they hearing how I feel? Same conversation, different motivational filter based on temperament, very different realities being experienced. Okay, let's talk about the E. E stands for exactness and excellence. And E's are driven by those things. They're driven by improving things. They're wired for accuracy, for improvement, for precision. The E brain naturally asks questions like, is this right? Is this correct? Does this make sense? Is this logical? Is there a better way to do this? Their reticular activating system prioritizes patterns and details, looking for inconsistencies. The primary process that the E-brain goes through is to look at what has happened, what was said, what was done, to see how to make it better for the next time. So they notice a lot of things that other people overlook. Small contradictions in a story, subtle errors in reasoning, patterns across multiple conversations. This makes E's incredibly valuable problem solvers and really good analysts. And again, every filter has a trade-off. Because the E-brain prioritizes accuracy and excellence and exactness and processing, emotional pacing can sometimes move faster than their analysis. And sometimes feelings can feel like they get in the way of logic. When a partner expresses something emotional, the E-brain, the exactness-driven person, pauses, not because they don't care about what the person is saying, but because their brain is trying to understand the situation clearly before they respond. From their perspective, they're being thoughtful and responsible, but from their partner's perspective, it can sometimes feel like there's emotional distance, like they're not engaging or caring about what they're sharing. And again, same moment, very different filter, very different realities experienced. So which of these filters is the correct one? Which of these filters is the best one? None of them is wrong. Each one naturally brings really important things to society and punctuates different aspects of data, different information that is really important in order for our families, for our relationships, for our societies to function well. C's help keep connection and relationships strong. O's bring energy and fun and vision, possibility to humanity. R's create movement and progress. And E's bring stability and accuracy and quality to humanity. Every single one of these motivations contributes something super valuable to the world. The problem is not the filter. The problem enters when we don't realize that we have one, when we don't understand how to work with them. Because when we don't recognize our own filter, we assume that everyone else is seeing the same reality that we are, which is simply not true. And so then when they respond differently, we assume that something is wrong with them, or maybe something's wrong with us. Most of the time, nothing is wrong. You're just experiencing the same moment through different motivational lenses based on your temperament, your different temperaments. And once you can start to understand that, then things become really cool. Conflict becomes more like curiosity. And curiosity is where understanding begins. Curiosity opens up space for understanding. So if you're curious and you want to understand your own filter more clearly, take the free core assessment in the description below or at whatsmycore.com. Once you know what your temperament is, and once you know what the temperament is of your partner, you will start to be able to see exactly how your brain prioritizes information in conversations and relationships and how their brain prioritizes information in conversations and relationships. And that awareness completely changes, or at least starts to be able to change, the way that you interpret the people around you. I'm curious, which of these filters sounded most like your brain? If you feel like this gave you some new information, if it turned on some light bulbs, if it gave you a new way to understand yourself and the combination of your temperament and your reticular activating system, if you feel like it's helping you understand somebody that you love, please subscribe for more conversations just like this one. Because the cool thing is, and what I'm hoping is that the better that we understand the way that our minds work, our brains work, the better our relationships tend to work too.